Okay, guys, I just wanted to go over something real quick here. Um, in the Bible. Um, oh, I guess I'll tell you how I got here. I've been playing video games and like watching anime on my phone. Um, yeah, that's what's up. So, I was reading this message here. This one right here. Got my little tracer on there for you. So the last should be like the first, and the first the last. And I just, I looked at it and I got a calling to go into here. This is where I went, dude. And I read this over, dude. This is the laborers in the vineyard when Jesus is speaking in the red letter words, in the King James version anyway. I got my King James Plus down here with the strongest concordance, so all I really got to do is tap on this. It'll take me to that one. It'll have the King James down here. But dude, this just hit me like with a ton of bricks, but it felt good. So, if you're not familiar with this, you only have to be too familiar with this. But when I started reading this, I was reading it. I kind of went over it a little bit of a study before I do something later, I guess. I started looking into it, and then this message popped into my head. Like, you know what I'm saying? Just something popped into my head, and I was like, oh, it's just like the cause and effect. Like the law of cause and effect. Because if I go down here, where was that at? It was right here. Is it not lawful for me to do what I want with things of my own? Okay, so we all know that Jesus is God and man, 100%, right? And then he goes on to say, or is your eye wicked because I am good? Wow. Okay, so the law of cause and effect, right? So we have here. So here we go. They're bickering right here about the last getting the same amount of money as the first did. Right? So basically, the laborers were hired into the yard, and earlier in the day, the laborer or the owner of the vineyard's like, "Hey, man, go out and do some stuff in my vineyard," and then it periodically, um, throughout the day, he calls other laborers into the vineyard at different times of the day, right? And then finally, at the end of the day, the guy comes and he's like, um, bring the last first and the first last, right? And he gives them all the same amount of money. Well, it's not necessarily. See, that's the thing. It's not money. It's about it's can't even explain that. Um because what it is it's a parable about what the kingdom of heaven is like. For the kingdom of heaven is like the master of a house who went out early in the morning to hire workers for his vineyard. After agreeing with the laborers for a denarius a day, right? A denarius a day, he sent them into his vineyard. And going out about the third hour, he saw another standing, idle in the market. And to those he said, "You also go into the vineyard, and whatever is right, I will give you." So they went, going out again the sixth, in the ninth hour, he did the same thing. And about the 11th hour, he went out and found others standing around. He said to them, "Why have you been standing here idle all day?" And they said to him, "Because no one has hired us." And he said to them, "Go into the vineyard too." And when evening came, the master of the vineyard said to his foreman, "Call the laborers and pay them their wages, beginning from the last up to the first." And when those hired about the 11th hour came, each of them received a denarius. Now, when those hired first came, They thought they would receive more, but each of them received a denarius. Having received it, they began to grumble against the master of the house, saying, "These last worked only 1 hour, and you have made them equal to us, who have bore the burden of the day and the scorching heat." But he answered and said unto them, "Friend, I am doing you no wrong. Did you not agree with me for a denarius? Take what is yours and go. But I wish to give you, but I wish to give to this last man the same as you. Is it not lawful for me to do what I want with my own things? Or is your eye wicked because I am good?" So the last will be the first, and the first the last, and the first last. So, guys, on the whole topic of cause and effect, the last, like right now, as like other people, right, other people that have figured this out also, right? It's the law of cause and effect. It is the law. Is it not lawful for me to do what I want with my own things? God, okay? Cause and effect. The law of God in which he operates, okay? Think of like a generator, right? If the things that made the generator work inside of it had some sort of an intelligence, whatever started everything to work in that generator, it would be God, right? So that's how reality really is. That's how everything works, right? So those who are last are like the first. And those who think they work harder are considered wicked because he is good. I get this. I don't know how to explain this, but I get this. Because they think that they worked harder and they deserve more money. But the reality is they were there when they needed to be in order to do exactly what needed to happen, in order for things to proceed the way that they did, in order for reality and everything, including belief, ideas, emotional standpoints, everything to be the way that it is now, right? But because they think that they worked harder than the last, the owner of the vineyard says, "Is your eye wicked because I am good?" This is huge. This is huge. This is so big right now. Because of the law of cause and effect. Right? So that's like setting up dominoes, you got your little domino trail, right? You can set up your little dominoes like lengthwise on the tabletop, right? Set one here, and then you can just tip it over, right? And then they all start falling, right? That's like saying, like, to the first one that you tip over, you did more work, right? You did more work because you pushed over all the other ones. But the reality is my finger had to come in there and make sure everything worked out the way that it was supposed to work out, right? And then he goes to the one that was at the end, and he gives him exactly what he deserves, as well as all the others what they deserve, right? Because it's logical, according to the law of cause and effect. Everybody's gonna get what they deserve. Every single one of those dominoes already has its reward. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's the way, the truth, and the life, guys. You gotta believe. You can think you're something that does a lot of good works and everything. This really hits home for me too. You know what I'm saying? Because in today's society, man, those of us who work harder, we really do think that we get the better end of the deal. You know what I'm saying? But deserve the better end of the deal, I should say. But it all boils down to God gets the glory, God deserves the glory, and he's the guy who's in charge, and and just look at myself as just the servant. I really shouldn't be like trying to like weigh in my mind, oh, I did so much, you know what I'm saying? I did this and I did that, and I did better than this guy, or you know what I'm saying? That's straying and or backsliding from the truth that I was now introduced to through this parable that just smacked me in my face as I opened up my phone. Because that's what it is, guys. Like that may be that's the way civilization is. And Jesus nailed it right there, dude. Laborers in the vineyard, dude, working for America. You know what I'm saying? Like, dude, we need to keep God as God and always remember these things. And, we're going to be, and that causes so much strife. They go over here and they see right here. I'm not talking about God causing so much strife. I'm talking about these guys here that started grumbling amongst themselves and complaining about how they got more money for doing littler work. But the reality is, dude, is you just inherited from ancestry the knowledge of good and evil, right? So they're thinking in their head that they're their God, right? But that's not the case at all, because as if we jump back here into Genesis 3, we can see exactly that, right? I mean, right. So right here in Genesis 3:22, then Jehovah God said, "Behold, the man has become like one of us, knowing good and evil, in order that he may and in order that he may not put his hand out and take the fruit also from the tree of life and eat and live forever." Become as one of us. Right here we have become as one of us, right? The Lord, and we're reading from the King James over here, down here. And the Lord God said, "Behold, the man is become as one of us," right? And one of us is in the ordinary sense, but specifically used in the plural, gods. Because we got the knowledge of good and evil, which was given to us, which was anyway. Isn't that crazy, man? Like isn't that selfless? That is so incredibly selfless, dude. Like to think like that, like because the reality is God is God. We're just we if dude, if you want to get into the kingdom of heaven, like honest to God, like, and you want to be in the kingdom of heaven and meet God and reign as he reigns, or even associate with anybody who's actually going to the kingdom of heaven, this would definitely be a quality in my heaven. I mean, that's just my opinion. You know what I'm saying? God's going to be God, and we're all going to be doing what's best for the kingdom. You know what I'm saying? So, there's that. Cool beans, huh? I liked it.